Declaro aberta a quinta sessão
I declare
de
open
trabalho
the fifth working
do
session of
11º
the
Fórum
11th
Parlamentar do BRICS,
BRICS Parliamentary
com o
Forum,
tema
with the
Parlamentos do
topic
BRICS
BRICS Parliaments
unidos pela reforma
together
da
for the
arquitetura
reform of the architecture of the
multilateral
multilateral
de paz e
architecture
segurança.
for peace and security.
Gostaria de convidar para compor
I
a
would
mesa
like to invite to
Sua
the
Excelência,
panel
o senador da República
Excellency,
do Brasil pelo estado de
Senator
Pernambuco,
for the state of Pernambuco,
senador Humberto Costa,
Senator Humberto Costa,
coordenador
coordinator,
parlamentar
parliamentary
do BRICS no Senado da
coordinator
República.
for BRICS in the Senate of our Republic.
Obrigado, meu irmão querido.
Thank you, my dear.
Senhoras e senhores,
Ladies and gentlemen,
parlamentares, deputados e senadores, deputadas e senadoras, é com grande alegria que damos início a esta quinta sessão de trabalho
and
do
senators,
11º
it is a pleasure for us to
BRICS,
open session in the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum, where we're going to talk about
e da necessidade
architecture for peace and security and the urgent need
Ao
to
assumir a
reform it.
presidência rotativa do BRICS para
When
2025,
we
ano
undertake
no
the
qual este fórum
2025
parlamentar
rotation
comemora seu
head
10º aniversário,
of BRICS,
o Brasil não
Brazil
poderia deixar de incluir
had to
entre
include
os seus 6 temas
among its
prioritários
6 priority
a
topics
necessidade
the need
de reformar
to
com
reform
urgência o estado
urgently
atual
the
do
current state of
multilateralismo no mundo.
multilateralism in the world.
E não por acaso,
And
entre
not
os
by
objetivos
chance,
deste
among the
11º Fórum
objectives of this
Parlamentar
11th BRICS Parliamentary
Brasil
Forum in Brazil,
está a ampliação
we have the
dos
expansion of
em prol
debates
do multilateralismo
in favor
e da
of
reforma
multilateralism
da
and
governança
reform
global.
of global governance.
A recente expansão do BRICS,
The recent
que
expansion of
hoje engloba
BRICS,
11
which
países
now
membros
is composed
9
of
países
11
parceiros,
countries, in
é
addition to 9
evidência
partner countries,
incontestável do
is
interesse crescente
undoubtedly
entre as nações do Sul global
a
por uma
proof
ordem,
of
por uma nova
the
ordem
gathering of
multipolar
South global
mais
countries
justa
towards
e
a
equitativa.
fairer and more equitable global
Para
order.
que consistemos este novo estágio de governança
For
mundial,
us to achieve this
alguns
new
passos
world governance,
são
some
necessários e primordiais.
steps are necessary and
O
essential.
BRICS
BRICS
defende a reforma
defends
inadiável das
the
organizações das
reform
Nações Unidas
of the
e de seu
UN
Conselho de Segurança.
organizations and
A
its
estrutura
Security
de
Council.
governança da ONU,
The
que
UN
completa
security
80 anos em
structure,
2025,
which will be 80
não mais
years old
reflete a importância
this year,
a influência
no longer reflects
e
the
as
importance,
aspirações
influence, and
dos países da
aspirations
América Latina,
of the countries in
também
Latin
da
America,
Ásia
as well
e
as
da
in
África.
Asia and Africa.
Os desafios do mundo
The
contemporâneo
challenges of
demandam a reforma
our
inadiável
world
desta
demands
instituição,
urgent
não
reform of
obstante
this
sua importância
institution.
fundamental em momentos cruciais da
Even
história
if it had
recente,
been of extreme
foi concebida
importance in
nos
recent
termos de uma
history, it
geopolítica que já
was
faz parte do
conceived
passado.
in a moment that is
A
part of the
busca
past.
desse novo multilateralismo
The search for the
evidentemente
new
precisa obedecer os
multilateralism
princípios estabelecidos na
has
Carta
to
das Nações Unidas
observe
e deve se basear
the
nas
principles of
melhores
the UN
práticas do
Charter
direito internacional.
based on the best
O
practices
multilateralismo que
of
buscamos
international
é pacífico,
diplomacy. And we look for
seguro,
a multilateralism that is peaceful, secure, sustainable, and above all, inclusive. It should resonate the very feelings that led to the creation of BRICS, and that maintains this bloc cohesive, such as non-interference, respect, search for consensus, and friendship amongst our peoples. BRICS defends also more intense participation by countries in the in the global south, I do beg your pardon. In addition to closer cooperation regarding fighting terrorism in all its types, the role of BRICS parliamentarians is essential. Parliaments are institutions that better echo the aspirations of each people in the world through exchange of legislative good practices or in any other way. BRICS parliaments are indispensable in the search of a new world order. I repeat, BRICS countries are indispensable players in the search for a new global architecture for peace and security. And in this working session, the contributions of each one of the participants will certainly make us closer to this goal. And I will clarify now that each speaker has 5 minutes to speak. Also, I ask everyone to speak slowly, as there is simultaneous translation in several languages, and we can be as precise as possible. Finally, I request that for the works to be run smoothly, after the list of speakers of this session, we will start the next one without a break. Thank you very much for your cooperation and for observing these rules. They are necessary for the smooth running of our session. I also would like to thank for the opportunity I had yesterday to welcome in the presidency office the delegations of the countries that are here in this forum with an open conversation, and also that made things clearer so that we all can understand the best roles we can play in the interparliamentary relationship of our countries. Also, I'd like to salute all of you and thank you for your attendance in the dinner that was offered by our Ministry of Foreign Affairs yesterday. And it was a great opportunity for us to meet, and thank you for being there, and thank you for your consideration. So I'd like to invite Mr. Mohamed Bagher Kalibaf, President of the Parliament of Iran. Please, you will have the floor.
In the name of God, the Compassionate, the Merciful, Honorable President of the Federal Senate of Brazil, esteemed speakers of BRICS member states, and esteemed partners, distinguished parliamentarians, I would like to once again express my sincere gratitude for the gracious hosting and successful organization of this important summit. Gathering among the enlightened parliamentarians of BRICS presents a valuable opportunity to exchange perspectives, foster constructive cooperation, and reaffirm our shared commitment to reforming the international order and multilateral architecture, one that is capable of addressing the complex demands of the 21st century. Dear colleagues, the current international order, established after the Second World War and centered around a handful of powers, no longer meets the needs and realities of today's world. The existing structures have not only proven ineffective in addressing emerging challenges, but have in some cases become part of the crisis itself. The structural indifference toward the will of the majority of nations, disproportionate representation in institutions such as the Security Council, blatant discrimination in the exploitation of global resources, and political use of tools such as sanctions and financial dominance, selective multilateralism, and double standards all attest to the bitter reality that today's multilateral system suffers from a deep crisis of effectiveness and accountability. A glaring example of this failure is the catastrophic crisis in Gaza. For months, the oppressed people of Gaza have endured relentless bombardment, siege, and starvation. Thousands of children, women, and defenseless civilians have fallen victim to the systematic crimes and overt genocide perpetrated by the Zionist regime. Despite undeniable evidence, widespread international warnings, and the global outcry of peoples, the response of international institutions has largely been limited to silence, inaction, and at times even implicit support. Organizations entrusted with safeguarding peace, human dignity, and global justice have failed to take deterrent action against these blatant atrocities. This silence is not mere diplomatic passivity. In the eyes of nations, it is perceived as an implicit endorsement of these crimes. Today, people across the world are asking, if these institutions are powerless in the face of such tragedies, what purpose do they serve? We now witness that 2 years into the horrific humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, the United States has for the fifth time blocked the explicit demand of 14 Security Council members for a ceasefire, once again obstructing an end to the war and clear violation of international laws governing armed conflict. With unconditional support for the Zionist regime, the US has aligned itself with this child-killing regime, enabling it to commit one of the most unprecedented genocides of our time. Today, with direct US backing, Gaza is trapped in a comprehensive man-made siege, one that targets defenseless civilians through starvation, shortages of medicine, water and food, and silent death. History has rarely recorded such monstrous levels of cruelty and oppression against a civilian population. Another example, US behavior in nuclear negotiations with Iran. The conduct of the United States in nuclear negotiations has not only been duplicative and contradictory, but also devoid of sincerity and transparency. With a diplomatic smile, it speaks of dialogue, yet in practice it relies on power and influence to predetermine the course of negotiations, imposing its unjust decisions on the Iranian people. This is not dialogue, but it is a script for surrender. The US seeks to deny Iran's natural and internationally recognized right to enrichment, explicitly affirmed under the NPT. Beyond that, through political pressure on international bodies, particularly the IAEA, it pushes for selective and unrealistic reports to manipulate public opinion and legal processes in his favor. This blatant violation of international law is yet another testament to the inefficacy of global structures in confronting US unilateralism. Yet the Iranian nation stands firm, not for confrontation, but to defend its rights, dignity, and sovereignty. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, all these developments lead us to one clear conclusion. Reforming global architecture is not a political choice, but a strategic imperative for our collective survival and future. The complex and intertwined crises of today cannot be managed without outdated mindsets and tools. We need a new order, one that is founded on justice, equality, mutual respect, and shared responsibility. 2, reflects the will and voice of nations, not the interests of a select few powers. 3, upholds peace, not as a privilege, but as an inalienable right of all humanity. And 4, recognizes development as a universal right, not an exclusive privilege of the global north. In this context, BRICS, as a coalition committed to fair multilateralism, holds unique potential to play a pioneering and inspirational role. With nearly half the world's population, a significant share of global GDP, natural resources, and cutting-edge technologies, BRICS can lead the way in shaping a new global order. BRICS must act with courage and innovation to reform the Security Council and amplify the genuine representation of the global South, develop independent, sustainable, and equitable financial mechanisms to counter dollar hegemony and unilateral financial networks, and strengthen cooperation in peace building, food security, climate action, and clean and green technologies, and enhance parliamentary collaboration to elevate the voices of nations into global decision-making. Accordingly, our concrete proposal is the formation of a BRICS Parliamentary Working Group to explore pathways for establishing a truly inclusive multilateral system. This group could develop actionable strategies and a roadmap for structural reforms in global governance. Thank you for your attention.
I would like to invite Mr. Grigory Karassian, member of the High Chamber of Russia.
Your Excellency, Mr. Chair, on behalf of the Russian delegation, I'd like to thank our Brazilian friends for their warm hospitality. We are all witnessing a transition away from an obsolete unipolar world order to a multipolar framework with greater justice for all. There are new emerging centers of economic growth, of financial and political influence in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and in the Middle East. More and more leading regional powers are stepping forward to assert their sovereignty and independent foreign policies. Countries of what we call the Global South and East are claiming the place they deserve on the international stage and want others to take their interests into account. Unfortunately, not everyone is ready to accept these objective and irreversible shifts. In fact, the collective West has been using its would-be efforts to ensure the rule of law in international affairs to promote its rules-based order, which consists of interpreting what once seemed as universally recognized international norms as they deem fit, depending on the momentary vested interests. Let me note that many of, if not all, global challenges result from attempts by the West to preserve their dominance in international affairs and to develop at the expense of the rest of the world. This includes global food and energy security, limited access to funding, unequal representation in international institutions, and regional conflicts, of course. The West believes in its global dominance and wants to preserve it, but these efforts serve as a destabilizing factor. They have been sending a lot of weapons and munitions to Ukraine while turning a blind eye to the human suffering in the developing world. 1.1 billion people today suffer from extreme poverty, and over one-half of these poor are under 18 years old. There are children. There are attempts to hijack the agenda within the key interstate frameworks and to subvert the UN Charter's key tenets. These efforts undermine universal multilateral institutions and compromise their ability to ensure a balance of interests. Russia has been consistent in its efforts to reinforce the UN's central role in international affairs in fully keeping with its charter and other norms of international law. At the same time, we must make sure that the UN Security Council meets present-day reality and requirements. We need to enable countries of the Global South in Asia, Africa, and Latin America to enjoy wider representation within this framework. They are the ones who must become a new pillar of this emerging global architecture. The collective West has failed to outcompete these new centers of economic growth and has turned up its sanctions pressure, including through secondary sanctions. In particular, Russia currently faces almost 29,000 illegitimate restrictions and sanctions, but we our economy has been able to adapt and has remained resilient, Russia is committed to equal dialogue and promoting cooperation. BRICS countries have learned to live with sanctions. Quite often these measures fail to live up to their purpose, but they have a negative impact on the global economy. These reckless steps undermine trust towards the existing financial mechanisms and instruments, including the US dollar. In today's world, parliaments play an increasingly important role in building fair, equal, and a representative world order. As legislators, we must promote honest and sincere dialogue among all stakeholders, and we welcome the mutually respectful conversations we have at interparliamentary platforms. On a special note, let me say that Russia came forward with the initiative to establish the BRICS Plus geopolitical group within the IPU in order to enable BRICS parliamentarians to find ways to overcome present-day challenges. We represent the people of our countries and need to coordinate our efforts and need a solid foundation for that. BRICS countries have been making a meaningful contribution to addressing challenges the world is facing today. We may be thousands of kilometers apart, but BRICS parliamentarians have been always in touch. We see a shared commitment to promoting open and trust-based dialogue in various sectors, and this forum is further evidence of the fact that we have unlimited potential when it comes to strengthening our cooperation. Colleagues, we all understand that dialogue and equal cooperation are instrumental for building a world of harmony with shared prosperity. This has been a defining tenet for BRICS for many years. We expect the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum to become yet another step in this direction. Thank you for your attention.
Now I invite Ms. Ana Maria Mari Machado, Vice President of the Cuban Parliament.
Buenas tardes, Presidente.
Good afternoon, President and other participants, distinguished heads of delegations and other participants in the forum, the Parliamentary Forum of the BRICS. Please receive the Cuban hug here and the team here present. From Cuba, we ratify in this forum the defense of multilateralism. At the same time, we reiterate our rejection of all wars, including non-conventional wars, attempts of reimpose an unipolar international order, and the plundering and theft of natural resources, or the imposition of unilateral coercive measures or pressures of all kinds, and of all those aggressions that threatens multilateralism, that undermines international peace and stability, and disrespects the provisions of the charters of the United Nations. We consider that the parliamentary dialogue within the BRICS framework acquires special relevance, being spokesperson of the interests of our people, representatives of their political and national will, and being aware of the real demands, feelings, and needs of millions of people all around the world. In this sense, the parliamentarians of the BRICS and its parliaments, if we propose ourselves, we are in conditions to support the construction of a multilateral structure that meets the needs of the citizens that representing different countries, larger or small, in territorial dimensions and with different levels of development. The way to guarantee peaceful coexistence, preserve international peace and security is the defense of the multilateralism. In addition to the full respect of the Charter of the United Nations and the principles and norms of international law, it is necessary to promote dialogue, solidarity, and international cooperation. It's urgent to establish a just, democratic, and equitable international order to eliminate the root causes of hunger inequality. We have to prove laws that contribute to the progress regarding sustainable development. It goes beyond the gross domestic product to define the access of developing countries to financing on favorable terms and an adequate technical cooperation. In this sense, I would like to highlight that the right to live in peace with security, and security is threatened by the imperialism that defenders of the sovereignty of the people, defenders of the rights of humanities, the application of the commercial norms, and using different modalities of payments and political pressure in an attempt to maintain its hegemony. The United States has strengthened their measures, especially in the pandemic, during pandemic that we've survived. The same way the inclusion of our inclusions in the illegal lists of countries that support terrorism is a measure that has no basis, and it represents a terrible damage to our people. Facing these blockages, our countries has managed to move forward and has demonstrated the will and capacity to continue operating with other nations. Once again, we thank you for the solidarity received in the face of the blockage and other aggressions from the United States. In a world marked with so many challenges, the BRICS is an important group that to build a future world. The BRICS parliamentarians is reinforcing and supporting this group for a model that's more egalitarian. We celebrate that this mechanism of having the local currency imposing technological advantages. We want to promote solidarity and cooperation and implemented decisions for our countries to take our collaborations into a next level. We are happy to contribute to this mechanism.
Countries and our states promoting the development of cooperation, helping to increase participation of national exchange currencies to consolidate our strength that must be the unity in diversity. Lastly, we would like to advance in the reform of the multilateral architecture for peace and security for a more just and sustainable future. That's our duty. Let's do that. Let's commit to that, and this become not only a meeting, but we have agreements to complement what we have agreed between our countries. Thank you so much.
I now invite to the floor Mr. Sergei Hashkov, President of the Lower Chamber of Belarus.
President, ladies and gentlemen, in the context of the lasted for decades, the Cold War, the global military and ideological confrontation between East and West, a security architecture was created in the European space with the participation of extra-regional players with an extensive system of mutually complementary political and legally binding mechanisms in the sphere of arms control and confidence-building measures. It would seem that all mechanisms were created and functioned, putting into practice the principle of indivisibility of security, solemnly proclaimed in the Helsinki Final Act, and subsequently recorded in a number of fundamental OSCE documents. Why then did this mechanism fail? The answer is obvious. The existing architecture did not take into account the interests of all participants equally and fully. And therefore, the existing military political instruments could not prevent the crisis of the European security system, which resulted in open armed confrontation in the region. Although the beginning of this was laid back in 1999, with the bombing of Yugoslavia in violation of the UN Security Council resolution and NATO expansion to the east. As a result, we have a profound crisis of international relations. Against this background, the global geopolitical landscape is being transformed. This is a painful process. After all, supporters of a unipolar world order are trying with all their might to retain the hegemony that is slipping out of their hands. At the same time, this process is inevitable. The breakdown of the existing world order marks the transition from a unipolar to multipolar and polycentricity. The European Atlantic security model, which has never been able to provide its worth, is being replaced by a Eurasian security architecture with a new generation of organizations. In Eurasia, there is a deep understanding of the principles of justice and equality, a full awareness of the importance of the principle of indivisibility of security, and a greater respect for international law, national, religious, and cultural characteristics of each other. Eurasia is developing its own structures, such as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Collective Security Treaty Organization, the Association of Southern Eastern Nations, the Conference of Interaction and Confidence-Building Measures in Asia, which deal, among other affairs, with security and stability issues. For the BRICS countries, it would be worth to know that the Belarusian side, supported by the Russian Federation, launched the process of discussing the prospects for building a security architecture during a high-level international conference, Eurasia Security Reality and Prospects in Transforming World, which was held in October 2023 in Minsk. At the conference, the Belarusian side put forward an initiative to develop the Charter of Diversity and Multipolarity in the 21st century. The idea of the Charter is not taken out of thin air, but it is one of the practical elements of the initiative to recognize the diversity of paths of progressive development as a value of human civilization put forward by the President of the Republic of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, at the United Nations Summit in 2005. The initiative to develop the Charter is designed to contribute to the construction of the fair world order based on the principles of indivisible security, equality, mutual respect, and cooperation. The Charter could formulate the parameters and principles of the function of the security architecture, as well as a strategic vision of the multipolarity of the updated system of international relations. Speaking at the second Minsk International Conference on Eurasian Security held on October-November 2024, the head of the Belarusian state said that the Charter should accelerate the processes of political, economic, and other consolidation in order to ensure security, strategic stability, and the progressive development of our countries and peoples. The President of Belarus called for getting rid of prejudices and stereotypes and starting to painstakingly build a dialogue step by step, looking for points of contact and rapprochement. He advocates the creation of a common space of trust and cooperation for the unification of countries, not against anyone, but in the name of a common goal in order to avoid a fatal civilization rift. At the end, I would like to say that we understand that no paper, no document will solve the security problem. But we believe that work on the Charter can unite the vectors of efforts of interested countries and international organizations and form the basis of the process of building the modern security architecture and the formation of a multipolar world order. In Belarus, we believe that parliamentary diplomacy of BRICS, which is a symbiosis of official and people's diplomacy, should also make its contribution to the construction of equal and indivisible international and regional security architecture. Thank you.
Convido para fazer uso
I now invite to the floor
presidente da Câmara Baixa da Índia.
Honorable presiding officers, members of parliament, ladies and gentlemen. This historic meeting of BRICS Parliament is a powerful and highly significant platform for the collective deliberations on essential reform in the global peace and security framework. It gives me great pride and satisfaction to share India's views on this subject. This topic is deeply aligned with the core principle of BRICS: justice, inclusivity, and representation. It is also reflect that increasing strength of parliamentary diplomacy in the disclosure of multilateral reforms. Excellency, no discussion on the global peace can be complete without addressing the shared threat of terrorism. The recent terrorist attack in the Jammu and Kashmir, India, in which 26 innocent civilians were brutally killed, has deeply shaken us. As Pakistan took no consent actions against the terrorist infrastructure operating from its territory in India exercised its right to respond, prevent future cross-border attack, and upheld deterrence. Under Operation Sindoor, India actions were targeted and provocative, measured, and responsible. This role's objective was to destroy terrorist infrastructure and neutralize the capability of terrorists. The Indian armed force targeted 9 states, including Bhaulapur, headquarters of Jail Muskedes, Murikti, headquarters of Lashkar-e-Taiba, and Muzaffarabad, site of the number of anti-India terrorist groups. These 3 places are listed in the United Nations Security Council 1267 monitoring committees with linkage of prescribed terrorists. On the Pakistan request, India agreed to ceasefire and cessation of military activity on 10th May. Under the leadership of the Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi, India approaches and new normal in dealing with cross-border terrorism has been clearly demonstrated through Operation Sindoor. Today, India stands firm on the zero-tolerance policy towards all forms of terrorism and responds decisively to every act on terror. Our zero-tolerance policy against terrorism is informed through robust laws and empowered institutions. India actively participates in global counter-terrorism effort, whether in halting terror financing, sharing intelligence, cooperating in investigations and judicial process, or preventing the misuse of modern technologies. India has long faced challenges of cross-border terrorism. It is imperative that all nations ensure that terrorists are not used in any form of terrorism. The misuse of social media, cyberspace, and the internet by terrorists, especially to spread radicalizations among youth, has become a global challenge. India has been the foremost of this fight. In October 2022, we hosted a special meeting of the UNESCO Counter-Terrorism Committee that adopted the Delhi Declaration. The same year, we had successfully hosted No Money for Terror Conference and Interpol General Assembly. Our goal is clear: unite the world in the fight against terrorism and transnational crimes. It is our collective responsibility to unequivocally condemn terrorism in all forms and take resolute action against it. India, the land of peace and compassion inspired by Lord Buddha and the terrorism of non-violence, also embodies a firm stance against injustice and aggression, a part of the solution ethos. Excellencies, India believes that we must build a global environment founded on friendship, mutual respect, and cooperation. To this end, India is ready to work in full coordination with the Parliament of BRICS nations. New challenges, greater complexities, and a multipolar arrangement indicates the urgent need to make the global peace and security architecture more inclusive and representative. India is fully committed to the principle of the United Nations Charter, sovereignty, equality, and peaceful. And thank you so much for all of you. Dhanyavad. Jai.
Since we finished the list of speakers, I'd like to highlight we're going to start to the 6th session of the work of the 11th Parliamentary Forum for BRICS. I declare ended, close the session.
Declaro aberta
I declare open the 6th working session of the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum with the topic for an inter-parliamentarian cooperation in BRICS that is stronger and lasting. I invite to the floor Senator Humberto Costa. This is a historical moment for Brazil and for BRICS. It is also a unique opportunity for us to have closer ties and also to reiterate our vocation of our parliaments towards cooperation and mutual help, I beg your pardon. So, this next session is especially relevant. Since the beginning of our parliamentary forum started, it is clear the need for us to review and update its structure and internal procedures, facing the greater complexity and the realization of our agenda. So this is the object of our work in this 6th working session. We also cover the need for us all to make commitments and take further steps. This parliamentary forum shows that what gathers us is much greater than trade and investment flows. Along this week, we have had working sessions about artificial intelligence, climate change, global health, and new paths towards economic development. For this common agenda to materialize, it is crucial that all structures of the group are able to provide their best contribution. This means to implement initiatives that strengthen cohesion and efficiency of the parliamentarian cooperation, improving working methods to strengthen dialogue among our parliaments. In this field, we should mention the success and relevance of new formats of cooperation, interparliamentarian collaboration in the BRICS, such as the Women Parliamentary Forum, the Youth Parliamentary Forum, and the meetings of the presidents of foreign commissions. It is important for us to acknowledge the trend towards greater formalization of our forum. In the last 2 editions, we produced a memorandum of understanding and a protocol to this document. And these documents are part of the basis over which the directives for the working of the parliamentary forum will be based on. And in this reading, we should include the ability to have all the documents produced by this Interparliamentarian Forum. This will also allow for better monitoring of the actions proposed here, as well as providing inputs for addressing essential topics for political and economic debates in the global level. Ladies and gentlemen, our countries are dedicating their best efforts to address global economic development. The parliaments manifest their adherence and willingness to help. We want to be active part of this process, using the knowledge we have about our societies and our experience on promising and interinstitutional dialogues. This experience is extremely valuable in these circumstances. BRICS and the world can count on us. Thank you.
For this new working session, the 6th, for inter-parliamentary cooperation for even stronger and lasting cooperation, I invite Mr. Supra Mahumapelo, member of the Low Chamber of South Africa, to the floor.
President and the collective of the table, ladies and gentlemen and honorable members, once more we want to take this opportunity to thank Brazil for inviting us and making sure that we participate in the 11th forum of the BRICS. The theme, as we all know, is towards stronger and more durable BRICS inter-parliamentary cooperation. Honorable Chairperson, South Africa, we hold the view that Parliament is a melting pot for all our people's democracy to be expressed. In an age where the lines between domestic and international is becoming blurred, and where there is a globalization of problems, democracy ought to be promoted at various levels of government, which include the national, the regional, and the international. Historically, parliaments have been scantily involved in the international relations, and the role of parliaments in the area of international relations has always been confined to ratifications of international agreements. Therefore, parliaments have a historical obligation to ensure that the people they represent at national level also are represented in the global arena and are not left behind as a result of the new global developments. The first conference of the presiding officers of parliaments, organized by the Inter-Parliamentary Union, held in New York at the United Nations headquarters in 2000, declared that parliamentary dimensions to international relations and cooperation must be provided by the parliamentarians themselves. Firstly, at the national level, in an interconnected manner, and move towards the regional and the global level. Today's thematic topic on building stronger and durable parliaments for BRICS Inter-Parliamentary Forum and cooperation is consistent to the form and content of the BRICS Memorandum of Understanding. We will recall that the first BRICS Parliamentary Forum, which was held in Moscow in Russia on the 8th of June 2015, declared their intention which was to strengthen and promote contacts at leadership level, at the chambers, at the committees, and the groups of parliamentarians to perform interparliamentary exchanges and hold regular expert consultations to create and develop new interparliamentary cooperation mechanisms. In an effort to build strong and durable parliaments, the protocol to the Memorandum of Understanding of the BRICS Parliamentary Forum further stresses that, and I quote, recognizing the critical role of the capacity building in fostering effective and parliamentary cooperation, the parties reaffirm their commitment to facilitate initiatives to enhance the skills, the knowledge, and capabilities of parliamentarians and parliamentary staff, close quotation. Exchanges on national experiences and best practices in addressing the challenges facing BRICS nations will be encouraged by the parties. The parties will be encouraged to ensure adequate women and youth representation, and we are happy to realize that today here indeed we see the representation of young women and young people. It is consistent to this spirit that parliamentarians of the Republic of South Africa continue to occupy a frontline role in advocating for the maturing and ultimately transformation of BRICS from a forum into a formalized parliamentary assembly. To this end, we support efforts aimed at promoting greater transparency and public access to the activities and documents of the BRICS Parliamentary Forum, including the creation of a special sections on the national parliaments' websites to make sure that indeed it becomes accessible to people of all nations. Those will support the goal of parliamentarians serving as tribunes and midwives of social transformation in improving accountability to our citizens. Through the motion submitted by Namibia and seconded by Lesotho, Parliament has appreciated in South Africa that interparliamentary cooperation role played by inviting them on observers in the 9th BRICS Parliamentary Forum, and the following recommendations were made. 1, to encourage Southern African development member states to actively explore collaboration. 2, to resolve to ensure that Southern African Communities Parliamentary Forum in future deliberate on how they can strengthen their relations. Honorable Chairperson, South Africa is a country occupying the presidency of the G20. Our parliament, until we will be hosting the G20 and the P20 under the theme, Harnessing Parliamentary Democracy for the Realization of Global Solidarity, Equality, and Sustainability. We want to take this opportunity to welcome you, those who will be coming to South Africa just towards November. Our parliament must utilize this opportunity and explore the potential to contribute meaningfully and play a more critical role in fulfilling the objectives of the G20. Moving from here, we look forward to tangible, concrete results as we migrate from Brazil to India next year. Thank you very much.
Convido para fazer uso da palavra.
I invite to the floor Mr. Sergei Hashkov, member of the Low Chamber of Belarus.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Muito obrigado, senhor.
Allow me to once again welcome all the participants of the plenary session of the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum. Last year, Belarus received the status of a BRICS partner country. For us, This is a significant event that opens up new opportunities for maintaining peace, achieving sustainable development goals, and expanding international ties. The Republic of Belarus is a coherent supporter of the unifying creation ideas of BRICS. We have the same views on key issues on the international agenda. We advocate a fair multipolar world, strict adherence to the principles and norms of international law, non-interference in the international affairs of sovereign states, and the choice of our own development path. This year, the head of our state, Alexander Lukashenko, approved the strategy for Belarusian participation in BRICS, designed for 5 years until 2030. Among the main tasks is active involvement in the work of the existing multilateral mechanisms of the organization, taking into account the further institutional development of BRICS. Inter-Parliamentary dialogue, always an important role in the progressive development of multilateral cooperation within the BRICS framework. First of all, it is aimed at coordinating legislative initiatives and developing joint strategies, strengthening political contacts. Close interaction between MPs is an important tool for strengthening peace and stability in the world. The Belarusian side has repeatedly stated the importance of this cooperation in the context of the global restructuring of the world order. Taking again this opportunity, I call on parliamentarians to make their feasible contribution to the implementation of the Belarusian initiative to develop a program document, the Charter of Diversity and Multipolarity in the 21st century. I believe that our interaction in this area will also enhance the effect of the implementation of the concepts of peace and security proposed by the BRICS countries. I would like to note distinctly the importance of the role of legislative bodies in preserving sovereignty and countering external pressure, ranging from all illegitimate sanctions, other restrictive measures, and ending with destructive information impact. In order to protect against the above-mentioned negative factors, Belarus has adopted a number of laws that have proven their effectiveness in practice. We are ready to share our experience in these areas. Our task is to defend multilateralism and advocate for joint development, promote economic integration, support each other, jointly resolve issues that cause common concern, and increase the level of trust between our states. I am confident that by acting together, we will be able to achieve greater results, strengthen the constructive influence of BRICS on global processes, and make the world we live in safer and more harmonious. Mr. President, in conclusion, I would like, on behalf of the National Assembly of Belarus, to once again thank the leadership of the Parliament of the Federal Republic of Brazil for the excellent organization of this forum and the high level of hospitality expanding to its participants. I hope our meeting will contribute to the development of the further fruitful cooperation in the BRICS system and its parliamentary dimension. Thank you.
I invite now Ms. Ana Maria Machado, Vice President of the Cuban Parliament.
Muchas gracias, presidente. Thank you so much, President and other integrants of the President, distinguished head of delegations, other participants and guests. From the People's Powers National Assembly of Cuba, we express our commitment to work together with the parliaments that make up this important group to contribute to the socio-economic progress of the BRICS countries. The prosperity of their citizens support as much as possible to reduce international tensions, create a fairer, democratic, multipolar, and multilateral world. In this new scenario, the BRICS have contributed significantly to this historical claim of the South, especially in the path towards the necessary reform of the current international financial system, fostering dialogue and legislative collaboration among BRICS members in areas of common interest such as economic development, global security, trade, technological innovation, and multilateral governance is a crucial task today. Institutionalizing interparliamentary cooperation will contribute significantly to legislative policy dialogue and cooperation, to the promotion, stability, and development of a more just and equitable international order, to strengthening multilateralism on the basis of a regular exchange of experiences and best legislative practices, and to the search for comprehensive and joint solutions to common problems. Stronger and more lasting cooperation at the parliamentary level among the BRICS will also contribute to the efficiency of the system of international relations, the democratization of multilateral trade, and the response to global crises, promoting mutual understanding and the building of closer relations among peoples. It also reinforces the legitimacy and capacity of this group to act as an effective counterweight to traditional power structures, a movement towards a global architecture where multiple centers of power coexist and collaborate on equal terms, respecting the sovereignty and rights of each nation. Cuban parliamentarians consider it especially relevant to exchange experiences in the drafting of laws in those areas in which mutual progress could be made in the path of solving problems and achieving the objectives set by our states. It is up to us to work more actively within the parliamentary dimension to implement the decisions taken by the leaders of our countries in order to take the cooperation to a new level. Our responsibility as legislators will be to contribute to the solution of problems that affect us, to create legal mechanisms to protect the financial and economic sovereignty of our states, to promote the development of interbank cooperation, and to help increase the participation of national currencies in mutual settlements. At the same time, we must ensure that within the framework of the harmonization of legislation, the right to self-determination of peoples is respected in order to develop the economies of our countries more effectively through cooperation within the framework of the exercise of our competencies. This will contribute to development of international relations and a fairer world. And if you ask us, we should be proactive and propositive, and we should do this with urgency. Excellencies, cooperation between our parliaments symbolizes a deep and sustained commitment to the democratization of international relations and the promotion of multilateralism. With this focus on sharing best legislative practices, harmonizing regulatory frameworks, and promoting constructive dialogue always. This provides a robust platform for jointly addressing global challenges, while strengthening the BRICS institutional structure, endowing it with an unprecedented strength that amplifies its influence on the world stage. It is also one of the objectives of the President of Brazil. It also reinforces the legitimacy and capacity to act as a counterweight to traditional power structures. At this important event, we also reiterate our willingness to deepen our relations in the search for cooperation and mutual benefits in our condition of partner country, which aspires in the near future, with your support, to be accepted as a member country. You can count on the support of the People's Power National Assembly of the Republic of Cuba in order to achieve a historic transformation for the benefit of our peoples, that new civilized coexistence on the basis of a just and equitable international order where solidarity, cooperation, dialogue, and integration among countries prevail. Count on Cuba to work for that better world that is possible, necessary, and urgent. Thank you very much.
Convido para fazer uso da palavra.
I invite to the floor Mr. Julius Omanzuambo member of the lower chamber of Nigeria.
Thank you, the President of the Senate and other leaders of the high table. I bring you greetings from the Federal Republic of Nigeria and from the Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. We want to begin by thanking Brazil for hosting this forum and for inviting Nigeria, and to assure you that we share the common belief that a regional bloc, well-managed, well-led, well-funded, can change global narratives and redirect the balance of power and reshape the emerging global socio-economic and political orders. The advantage of speaking last at a forum like this is that you listen to all other presentations. I want to assure you, Mr. President, that Nigeria shares virtually all the prescriptions that have been made, and we believe that their full implementation can only make the BRICS stronger. The BRICS Parliamentary Forum stands as a compelling example of how regional blocs can transcend mere diplomatic niceties to establish a sophisticated framework for interparliamentary synergy that reshapes the architecture of modern global relations. By convening legislative leaders from across continents, BRICS fosters a distinct environment where collective wisdom is summoned not for narrow national gains, but for driving shared policy objectives, nurturing cross-border cohesion, and accelerating cooperative innovations. These assemblies function as intricate conduits through which democratic ideas are not only proclaimed, but tangibly reinforced, enabling legislators to share refined insights, synchronized legal instruments, and strengthen institutional resilience across borders. And far from ornamental gatherings, such blocs emerge as dynamic mechanisms embedding legislative cooperation into the structure of international governance, amplifying the influence of parliaments in navigating the layered complexities of today's global order. Having listened to the earlier presentations, therefore, it is the view of Nigeria that moving forward, we must take some steps. Some of these steps were already taken, and we believe that together we can only make this forum stronger. First, we believe that to make it stronger, we must build from below. We must strengthen the substructure of our political orders in order to strengthen the superstructure of our political leaders. By this, we mean that we must pay attention to the workings of parliaments, how open, how transparent, how accountable, and how democratic they are, to make them able to serve the objectives that we have set for ourselves. Second, Nigeria believes we must protect democracy, its institutions and constitutions. Without protecting democracy, the BRICS will not be able to demonstrate that it stands for the collective will of the people that we represent. It is only by strengthening democratic institutions, narratives, and processes that we can make that contribution and make this forum relevant for today and beyond. Third, we must strengthen the participation of women and young persons in our parliaments. This is critical if this forum will remain relevant to the people in the different countries. And I believe we're already on that path, but we must not take it for granted that it cannot be rolled back. This can happen unless we are vigilant. Fourth, we encourage committees of parliament to engage themselves. By this, we mean that beyond just leaders of parliaments, there is nothing wrong with committees in one country relating with committees of parliament in other countries to share ideas and best practices. And we also believe that establishing friendship committees would help to engage and present to the world a different narrative. In Nigeria, we have established 82 such friendship committees, including virtually all the countries represented in the BRICS. And those committees are meeting through their various embassies and visits, and this is strengthening discussions and experiences in our parliament. We believe that even with what we are doing here, it is important we get full leadership commitment to multilateral cooperation, mutual respect, and support. For if the leadership in the various countries do not buy into what we are doing or what we are discussing, we will find that these conversations and decisions remain within the parliament. We also believe in Nigeria that the exchange of best practices, information, and knowledge is critical. At the moment, there's still a lot of ignorance about what is going on in other parliaments. This has to be a deliberate program, enhanced by contemporary technology, to share information, knowledge, and best practices to support the work that we do. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, Nigeria believes that if we do not strengthen our parliaments, build capabilities of parliamentarians in the first instance, they will never be able to deliver on the objectives we have set for ourselves. We also believe very strongly that if we do not bring in young people and more women into parliaments and democratize parliaments, our objectives as an organization designed to protect democracy will be in the negative. In other words, Nigeria believes that many parliaments are still very aloof, unapproachable, and inaccessible to ordinary people that we represent. Once they vote us into power, we get into parliament, the people that elected us can no longer access the parliament. And I think we must speak in support of access to parliament by democratizing it. And support of democracy in West Africa, we had a few rollbacks. Some countries had military takeovers, but we must speak to defend democracy at every opportunity. And I believe that Nigeria is prepared to contribute its quota, to support our objectives, and to participate in future engagements fully and robustly. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
I invite to the floor Mr. Ahmad Moderi, Member of the Parliament, Iran.
In the name of God, Excellencies, speakers of parliaments of BRICS member states, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to appreciate sincerely the government and parliament of the Federal Republic of Brazil for organizing this important meeting and for their warm hospitality. Excellencies, today we are in a historic and important point in global development, where there are various challenges and crises, and in these circumstances, international cooperation and engagement is not a choice, but a critical necessity for peace, security, and common welfare. In this regard, BRICS is not an economic BRICS only, but it's the voice of a great portion of the population of the world, and the historical ambitions of Global South, and the hope for establishing justice and equality in the world. We should utilize the parliamentarian diplomacy in order to reach multilateralism, sovereignty, sustainable development, and countering double standards and advancing development. Parliaments, as real representatives of the people and the voice of the nations beyond legislation and oversight, have become effective players in the world. The role of Parliament in the international arena is actually extended to a kind of overarching participation. Parliamentary cooperation in BRICS must transcend the symbolic meetings, and it should lead to planned actions. We need a sustainable institutional framework for dialogue, decision-making, and exchange of experiences and follow-up. Although BRICS in recent years has become an effective player in geopolitics framework of the world, its institutional structure is further government-centered. This fact, if not accompanied with a strong implementation, will face challenges in terms of accountability and strategies. Parliamentarian diplomacy can facilitate and make decision-making more transparent and based on consensus, and pave the way for greater participation. So this path will change BRICS from an economy into a body centered around civilization. However, we have several challenges in this regard. We have to deal with all of them, like lack of a permanent parliamentary institution, lack of common enduring agenda, and weakness between the adoptions and implementation. My suggestion is establishment of a permanent secretariat for BRICS with the aim of following up the adoptions, facilitation of relations and contacts, and legal research, comprised of the member countries, utilization of parliamentary diplomacy, and also establishing a platform, a digital platform for BRICS for dialogue, documentation, and development of a joint roadmap for increasing parliamentary diplomacy. Dear colleagues, all of you are aware that the world is on the brink of transition from an unequal order. So, BRICS cooperation can bring about initiatives and strengthen great decisions made by BRICS and help people. In this regard, we are in a moment of history when our today's decisions will, establish the future of the world. Parliamentary cooperation should not only follow the policies of government, but also it should be pioneer and inspiring of cooperation in strategic ways. Honorable speakers of parliaments, dear colleagues, in conclusion, I would like to reiterate the fact that the world in which public opinions are recognized, southern nations are heard, and peace is not based on terror, but based on mutual dialogue and the people, it will lead to a more just and secure and more humane world. The Parliament of the Islamic Republic of Iran, while believing in this principle, announces that as one of the active members of BRICS, it is ready to advance interparliamentary cooperation and act a constructive role. Thank you for your attention.
Convido para fazer uso da palavra o senhor On Birla.
I give the floor to Mr. Om Birla, President of the Lower Chamber of the Parliament of India.
Honorable Chairperson, distinguished Parliament, welcomes you, all of you. On the behalf of the Republic of India and our parliamentary delegations, I extend warm greetings and felicitations to all of you. After 2 decades of its sojourn, BRICS has emerged as the voice of Global South, an influential global grouping. This platform, composed of diverse perspectives and ideologies, stand as a symbol of cooperation and harmony. India's approach to BRICS deeply rooted in our ancient ideology Vasudhaivam Kutumbakam. This world is family. Establishing this just inclusive global order is shared responsibilities of all our parliaments. As the world's largest democracy and an ancient civilization with the BRICS Parliamentary Corporation, and what we can share with bonding together. We firmly believe that by recognizing the decisive role of Parliament, we can make BRICS more impactful than people-centric. Indian democracy, with a rich historical and cultural heritage, stands today a model for the world. Our Parliament represents the diverse aspirants on behalf of over 1.4 billion citizens. India multi-party systems, federal structure, constitution, principle of justice and equality, and legislative transparency are strong pillars of democratic ideals. Excellencies, from the very beginning, India has been active promising more participatory, equitable, and accountable global governance through the BRICS parliamentary platforms. We believe democracy remains incomplete without the active participation of youth, women, and underprivileged section of society. It was with the vision that India hosted the first BRICS Women Parliamentary Forum in 2016, where the Jaipur Declaration reinforced gender equality and parliamentary corporations. This declaration was a decisive step towards the inclusive democracy. In the past decade, witnessed a remarkable rise of women's leadership. Nearly 1.4 million women have been elected to local self-government, this highest in the world. The recent enhancement of Nari Shakti Vadan and Indian is India's new parliament house with provides 33% reservation for women, further strengthening political participations. India got countries to strive towards deepening inter-parliamentary corporations in BRICS through bilateral and multilateral dialogues. I propose that we develop a permanent institutional framework that ensures that exchange of the best parliamentary practices, innovations, experiences. This will not only enhance our capacities, but also make our contributions to global governance more effective. I'm pleased to share that India Parliamentary Trainings Institutes PRIDES is ready to welcome MPs parliamentary officials from BRICS countries. This institute serves as center of excellence of capacity building through the legislative drafting, parliamentary internship, and demand-based training program. Over from 110 countries have already received training of PRIDE. At the same time, our parliament must engage in meaningful dialogues of incorporation global challenges such as terrorism, energy security, climate change, digital economy, artificial intelligence, such as corporation, coordinated, effective, and practical responses. World largest food security program, over 810 million people, over 650 million citizens are receiving health security under the Ayushman Bharat scheme. Simultaneously, India is also contributing to global energy security by expanding, investing in renewable energy. BRICS Parliamentary Corporation is more than just an institutional process. It is the shared journey aspiration for 3.8 billion people. In this journey, we must also involve youth, civil society, think tank, other stakeholders to make our inclusive, practical, sustainable. Today, global, our felt security reflects many contemporary realities of challenges. Our parliament must therefore work together to reform institutions like United Nations, World Bank, and IMF to make them more equitable, inclusive. Excellencies, decision taken to the platform will save the future BRICS parliamentary corporations. I assure you that Parliament. Thank you, Jai Hind.
Finalizing the list of speakers, I'd like to clarify that right in the sequence, we're gonna begin the session of the closing of the 11th Parliamentary Forum of BRICS. I declare this session closed. Tá? Abre sua câmera aí. Só me dá um oizinho aí, parceiro.
O pessoal pediu para falar nas cabines, é uma coisa bem básica, né?
Pois não, meu querido.
Se acontecer alguma
Hola, hola. Hola, hola. Ah, não, porque aí a gente seria inglês. Para.
I declare open the solemnity of closing of the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum in Brasilia. In order to invite to the table the excellent President of the Federal Senate, Alcolumbre, Fausto Pinato, the Parliamentary Coordinator of the Chamber of Deputies, Mr. Senator Humberto Costa, Coordinator of BRICS Parliamentary in the Federal Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, I have informed that our conversation and consultancies in the past few weeks, through a process of a transparent and inclusive process, and with the broad and construction of parliaments of the members of the BRICS, for the Brazilian presidency in 22 May of the past. I highlight and like to thank the constructive spirit based on the mutual respect and also the disposition to strengthen our forum, that all the people involved manifested through the consultation process, even related to the more complex themes. It is our conviction that this joint declaration expressed an important message of the Parliamentary Forum of the BRICS to our chief of states and government that will be together in Rio de Janeiro in the beginning of July, and also for the community, the international community in its ensemble. It is a clear message in favor of cooperation, of multilateralism, inclusion, and development, sustainable development for all. In these conditions, I propose that this summit adopt the joint declaration of the Parliament for a just world and a sustainable planet.
Adotada. Convido para compor esta mesa o excelentíssimo senhor Om Birla, chefe da delegação da Índia e presidente da Câmara Baixa
and President of the Low Chamber of India, to receive in a symbolic way the transmission of the presidency of the BRICS Parliamentary Forum to the Parliament of India.
Na frente ali?
I'd also like to register the presence of the influenced Brazilian group that are participating in a guided tour denominated with Dialogues with Power by the National Congress. Welcome to our forum. In this moment, I also would like to invite everyone to watch the video offered by the Indian delegation.
Bharat, India, a land with ancient roots and eternal resilience. Its history is a testament to governance, compassion, and unity. India is the mother of democracy. The story begins in the verdant plains of the Ganges and the Indus, where sabhas and samitis of the Vedic age laid the foundation of participatory governance. As centuries passed, republics flourished in various parts of the country, embedding democracy deep in India's consciousness. India's belief in Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, the world as one family, has guided its ideals of universal brotherhood and mutual respect. Today, this legacy finds pride in the new Parliament building, inaugurated in 2023. Its design symbolizes the balance of power among the legislature, executive, and judiciary, while its interiors echo India's cultural richness. From ancient history to the freedom struggle, the Parliament is not just a workspace, it is a temple of democracy, where the voices of over 1 billion citizens converge. India is a land of diversity, a cradle of knowledge and spirituality, a hub of valor and entrepreneurial spirit, and a blend of artistic genius and technological prowess. In the last 10 years, India has made remarkable progress, rising as the world's 5th largest economy, transforming villages through Digital India, empowering young girls through Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, leading globally in renewable energy and sustainable development. Under the broader framework of its G20 presidency, India hosted the 9th G20 Parliamentary Speakers Summit, P20, in October 2023, chaired by the Honorable Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Om Birla. The summit saw the participation of the Pan-African Parliament, highlighting India's efforts to strengthen the voice of the Global South. With the longest written constitution, India ensures justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity for all its citizens. As the world's largest democracy, India stands as its beacon, a legacy of resilience and hope for generations to come.
नमस्कार, मैं भारत की संसद की ओर से वर्ष 2026 में
At the outset, I extend my heart-left congratulations to all wishes and dear friends. We are inviting you to the next BRICS in India next year. We will wait for in India for the next year.
Tenho a honra de conceder a palavra.
I am honored to give the floor to His Excellency Om Birla, Chief of Delegation of India and President of the Lower Chamber of the Indian Parliament.
Honorable presiding officers, members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I extend my heartfelt congratulations and best wishes to my dear friends, Honorable Hugo Mota, Presidents of the Chamber of the Deputies of Brazil and Honorable Devi Alke Lumbre, President of the Federal Senate, for their outstanding leadership in hosting the remarkable events. Under their guidance, the forum had set new benchmarks of corporations, dialogues, and transparencies. I also congratulate the BRICS member countries for the unanimous adoption of this joint statement, which reflects our shared commitment and faith democratic values. Excellencies, it is matter to great honor of the Indian Parliament to assume the forthcoming chair membership of the BRICS Parliamentary Forum. We eagerly look forward for welcoming you all to India to the next edition. When you visit the mother of democracy, you will undoubtedly be inspired by our diversity, inclusive traditions, and rich cultural heritage. Over the past 2 days, we have engaged in intense, purposeful, and productive deliberations. We have shared meaningful perspectives on issues related to global peace, stability, and sustainable development. There was an unanimous emphasis on the collective fight against terrorism and the pressing need for timely reforms in the United Nations and other global institutions. Under Brazil leadership this year, more than 140 meetings were held under the theme Strengthening Corporations of the Global South, infusing new energy and direction into the forum. Excellencies, 2 decades after its inception, BRICS has become a symbol of an inspiring journey. Its growing reach and influence have amplified the voice of the Global South and presented new opportunities for balance in the international structures. Together, we underscore the need for a united nation is the democratic, inclusive, and reflective of contemporary global realities. During India BRICS chairmanship in 2021, we collectively undertook several significant initiatives. The Women Parliaments Conference, the Digital Health Summit, the meeting of the Water Ministers, the Counter-Terrorism Actions Plan, the Green Tourism Alliance, all of which stand testaments to our shared commitment. Now, India eagerly awaits the upcoming chairmanship of BRICS Parliamentary Forum with full preparations and enthusiasm. We remain committed to strengthening parliamentary diplomacy, exchanging legislative experiences, and jointly addressing global challenges. Building upon the efforts of Brazil and other member countries, we are determined to elevate this forum to greater heights. In conclusion, I convey sincere gratitude on behalf of the Parliament of India and 1.4 billion Indians to the Parliament and people of Brazil for hosting this dignified event. With this, I reiterate the invitation to all of you for the next BRICS Parliamentary Conference in India. Thank you so much, and we again invite you to India in this. We hope that next year BRICS India and invited countries will come to India. And again, thank you all of you so much. Namaskar.
Tenho a honra de conceder a palavra.
I have the honor to hand the floor to my brother, ex-president of the Federal Senate, Senator Davi Alcolumbre. Your Excellencies, Presidents of the BRICS Parliaments, distinguished parliamentarians, diplomats, ladies and gentlemen. It is with joy and hope that I address Your Excellencies in this closing session of the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum. Over the past few days, Brasilia had the honor of hosting for the first time this important meeting of global parliamentary diplomacy. On behalf of the Brazilian National Congress, I thank the presence and the invaluable contribution of each of the 31 legislative delegations and the more than 150 parliamentarians who enriched our debates. Since its first edition in Moscow in 2015, this forum has been consolidating itself as a privileged space for dialogue and interparliamentary cooperation among our countries. The exchange of legislative experiences it provides is fundamental for the alignment of our parliaments in the face of global challenges that comprise our agenda. In this 11th edition, we gather under the central theme, the role of BRICS parliaments in building a more inclusive and sustainable global governance. A theme that reflects the aspirations of our people for a more just, prosperous, and peaceful future. From the beginning of our work, we had productive and engaged discussions, which started on the very first day with the thematic meetings dedicated to women parliamentarians and the presidents of the foreign relations committees of our parliaments. These initial sessions demonstrations from the outset BRICS commitments to the inclusion and participation of women and to the strategic depth of our cooperations. The subsequent working sessions addressed crucial themes such as the need for a BRICS Interparliamentary alliance for global health and a parliamentary action in search of new paths for economic development. These themes are part of the set of priorities established by the Brazilian BRICS presidency for 2025, which include strengthening cooperation in global health, promoting fair and inclusive international trade, addressing climate change, advancing in artificial intelligence governance, and consolidating the institutional development of BRICS. Ladies and gentlemen, our parliaments are the voice of our citizens. We, legislators, we receive mandates to translate popular aspirations into laws, effective laws, and also efficient public policies, and to oversee the implementation of the commitments undertaken by our governments. Our bloc, composed of 11 countries and reinforced since January of this year by the participation of 9 partner countries, represents an increasingly significant portion of the world's population and economy. This expands our responsibility and the importance of forums like this that facilitate the political coordination in our countries and the search for solutions of our problems that affect the world's order. The joint declaration, which we had the satisfaction of adopting by consensus, is the culmination of our efforts and deliberation. This document, the result of intense dialogue and the convergence of our diverse perspectives, reflects the spirit of BRICS, which is mutual respect and understanding, equality, solidarity, openness, inclusion, fraternity, dialogue, and consensus. The declaration reflects our shared vision of the crucial role of parliaments in promoting a global governance that also takes into account the roles of the BRICS countries. It addresses current challenges and proposes parliamentary paths to face them. From cooperation in areas such as health, science and technology, to fostering a stable and secure international environment for trade and investments. This declaration is a political commitment and a roadmap for the parliamentary action of our bloc, and will serve as a subsidy from our parliaments for the 17th BRICS Leaders Summit and for the decisions to be taken by our heads of state and government. We live indeed challenging times. BRICS has consistently advocated for an open, transparent, fair, inclusive, and non-discriminatory multilateral trading system based on the rules of the World Trade Organization. There are many global economic challenges, but it is through cooperation, dialogue, and respect for international norms, I repeat, respect for international norms, that we will find the paths to share prosperity. Another theme of great relevance for the future of our interparliamentary cooperation is the idea of a BRICS own parliament, which envisioned the emergence of an institutionalized parliamentary structure for our bloc. There is no doubt that the increasing participation in this parliamentary forum, it is an unequivocal sign of the vigor and strength for our legislative engagement. The expressive participation of legislative houses and parliamentarians from member and partner countries demonstrates the vitality and attractiveness of the parliamentary dimension of BRICS. The consolidation of spaces like this is a fundamental step towards an increasingly cohesive and influential parliamentary voice of our bloc on the world stage. Our future is promising. BRICS is an undeniable force on the world stage, a defender of a more inclusive and peaceful world. Our countries share the commitment to sustainable development, poverty eradication, and food security, always based on international law and the principles of the United Nations Charter. The parliaments of BRICS have a crucial role in this future. We are the direct representatives of popular aspirations and those responsible for transforming international commitments into national reality through legislation and also, why not say, oversight of these commitments. Our cooperation must deepen in the exchange of the best legislative practices and stimulating greater civil society participation in BRICS decision-making processes. We must continue to strengthen the mechanisms of dialogue and consultation among our parliaments, exploring new avenues of collaboration in strategic areas such as artificial intelligence, biotechnology, renewable energies, and the digital economy. The impulse and strengthening of these critical areas are fundamental for the autonomy and development of our countries. And why not to say the next generations? We count on the active engagement of each of the parliaments represented here so that, and only together, we can build an increasingly strong, cohesive, and relevant BRICS for our people, and for the first place, and for the world. At the closing of this 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum, I renew my thanks to all participants, to the organizing teams of the Federal Senate and the Chamber of Deputies, and to all who contributed to the success of this event. In the name of the Federal Senate and the name of the Chamber of Deputies, may the seeds planted here flourish into concrete initiatives and even stronger cooperation among our parliaments and mainly among our people. Thank you very much. God bless us.
I would like to salute His Excellency Senator Davi Alcolumbre, President of the Federal Senate and co-president of this forum with me, His Excellencies coordinators of the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum, Senator Humberto Costa and Representative Fausto Pinato, ladies and gentlemen, presidents of parliaments and other chiefs of delegations and their committees, ladies and gentlemen, representatives of the House and the Senate, all authorities who are here in this solemnity, civil servants of the House of Representatives and the Federal Senate, ladies and gentlemen. It is with a profound sense of duty and gratitude that I delivered this closing address of the 11th edition of the BRICS Parliamentary Forum. As President of the House of Representatives of Brazil, I'd like to reiterate our gratitude to the foreign delegations, both member and partner countries, who gathered over these past 3 days in this genuine effort to strengthen BRICS parliamentary diplomacy. I also wish to thank the representatives and senators of Brazil who joined us in this forum. My special recognition goes to the support I received from Deputy Fausto Pinato, parliamentary coordinator of the event under the under the House of Representatives, who, together with Senator Humberto Costa in the Federal Senate, made a significant contribution to the success achieved here. I also congratulate Representative Jack Rocha and Senator Leila on the successful holding of the BRICS Women Parliamentarians meeting, as well as Deputy Felipe Barros and Senator Nelsinho Trad for leading the meeting of chairpersons of foreign relations committees held on the 3rd of June. My best thanks to the staff of both houses of the National Congress, whose dedication and competence were essential to carry out such a significant event. Ladies and gentlemen, I am certain that the solidity of our cooperation rests on 2 pillars. First, mutual respect for diversity of our countries across geographical, historical, economic, and cultural criteria. And second, a common sense of commitment to multilateralism, to inclusive development, and to building a more balanced international order. We wish to live in a peaceful world where disputes be resolved through diplomatic channels. We wish to live in a world where all voices are respected in global decision-making forums. We wish for our countries to achieve the economic and social development that our populations deserve. We wish to provide a better future for current and future generations with quality health and education, with an environment that is preserved and that, at the same time, generates wealth for all, especially for those most in need. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world marked by complex challenges and geopolitical turbulences. In this context, BRICS consolidates itself as a mechanism for pacification, stability, and cooperation among the nations of the Global South and between these nations and the other members of the international community. I am confident that the advances achieved in the various priority areas for the Brazilian presidency of the group can benefit the entire international community. By advocating, for example, for equitable access to medicines, for an open, transparent, and inclusive multilateral trading system, or for the reform of global governance, BRICS and partner countries do not seek only their immediate interests, but general well-being and global stability. The Parliamentary Forum is essential for a future even more relevant for BRICS. It is an initiative that strengthens interparliamentary cooperation among member countries and expands its social representativeness. It points to agendas and paths that reflect the aspirations of our citizens. It confers greater legitimacy to the entire process of consultation among our countries. National parliaments are crucial not only in endorsing international commitments undertaken by governments, but also in creating common awareness about the values that are dear to BRICS citizens. Under the motto, the role of BRICS parliaments in building a more inclusive, sustainable global governance, this 11th Parliamentary Forum achieved significant advances in these 3 days. In line with the Memorandum of Understanding signed in Johannesburg in 2023 and with the St. Petersburg Protocol in 2024, we encourage diverse forms of interparliamentary dialogue, such as the meeting of women parliamentarians and that of the chairpersons of foreign relations committees or parliaments, in addition to bilateral meetings among the present delegations. In the sessions of the meeting of women parliamentarians, the following topics were debated: women in the age of AI, the climate crisis from a female perspective, and the relationship between women parliamentarians and the BRICS Agenda 2025. Meanwhile, at the meeting of chairpersons of foreign relations committees, the focus was the economic, financial, and commercial dimensions. Debates included BRICS trade in the current international scenario, the promotion of investments and technology transfer, and financial instruments for a more resilient and sustainable BRICS. In the working sessions, delegations reached consensus for the adoption of a final declaration, which addresses the 6 themes considered priorities by the Brazilian presidency of BRICS from the perspective of the legislative branch: the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance for Global Health, the Parliamentary Health in Search of New Paths for Economic Development, the Interparliamentary Dialogue on Climate and Sustainability, Interparliamentary Cooperation for Responsible and Inclusive Artificial Intelligence. BRICS parliaments united for the reform of the multilateral peace and security architecture and strong and durable BRICS interparliamentary cooperation. The consensus reached here are not a finish line, but a starting point. Based on them, we will continue the mission to expand mutual understanding, interparliamentary cooperation, and the aspirations of the Global South for the reform of the international order and for sustainable and inclusive development. The Brazilian Parliament made its best efforts to strengthen the interparliamentary dimension of BRICS, the group's objectives, and the common interests of the Global South and the international community. I am confident that the debates conducted in the 11th Parliamentary Forum can positively influence the dynamics of international politics by contributing to the internalization of BRICS commitments and to the construction of an identity and values of mutual respect, dialogue, and solidarity in our societies. May the BRICS Leaders Summit, to be held in Rio just over a month, may incorporate our contributions into its debates and final declaration. I would like to conclude by reiterating my gratitude for the participation and enthusiasm of the delegations who joined us over the last 3 days. The Parliament of India, I extend my best wishes for success in leading the work of BRICS parliamentary integration and in the hosting of the 12th Parliamentary Forum in 2026. count on the support of the Brazilian Parliament for the full success of our next meeting. The House of Representatives of Brazil remains open and ready to collaborate in everything that contributes to the group's objectives and to strengthening the ties between our countries. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank the present authorities and all that honored us with its presence. In the name of the Brazilian Parliament, the House of Representatives and the Federal Senate, I wish you all a safe trip back home and that you can come back to Brazil whenever you wish. Our Parliament, it will be always with the doors wide open. I declare closed the 11th Parliamentary Forum of BRICS.